What is consciousness? And what does it mean to truly live life awake? Welcome to Clarity to Consciousness, a podcast where we transcend beyond stereotypes, embracing a deeper understanding. I'm your host, Kristen Griffiths, a fellow seeker on this path. Join me on a journey as we dive into conversations with experts, unraveling stigmas, and expanding our awareness to something profound. This is your invitation to open your mind with me as together we bring clarity to the fascinating complexities of human consciousness. Welcome back to the Clarity to Consciousness podcast. I'm your host, Kristen, and I'm incredibly grateful to have you join me for another clarifying episode. Okay, so today's episode will likely be completely new to 99% of you listening, even if you've been following the spiritual practices for a while. Today, we're going to discuss Marconics. So to better frame it up for you, Marconics is an ascension energy healing modality. Perhaps you've heard of Reiki. So Reiki is also a healing method that works on the traditional chakra system that most people may be familiar with. Well, you might consider Marconics maybe the next level in terms of healing, or maybe you could go as far to say Marconics is Reiki on steroids. I don't know. But to tell us more about all the details of Marconics, I have an expert here with me today. My guest brings 8 years of experience with Marconics to students and clients and is now one of the 7 master teachers worldwide supporting the Northeast region and Florida. She's trained by and maintains close ongoing relationship with the originator and custodian of Marconics, Allison David Bird, and co-founder Lisa Wilson. She is passionate about serving the Ascension mission and knows firsthand the profound, lasting shifts this energy healing system can bring about in people's lives, as well as the potential it can create for more space, reconnection, and expansive healing on a global level. I'm very excited to welcome my guest today. Welcome, Robin Landau, to the show.
Thank you, Kristen. It's really an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'd love for the audience to get to know you a little bit better. Can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in Marconics?
Sure. So I had a traditional, education system and then went to college actually for business and communications, but clearly the universe had something else planned for me. And I chose the healing arts route by becoming a massage therapist soon after graduating college. And really not knowing where that was going to lead me, I chose the more medical route and specialized in a condition called lymphedema, which is after a condition after breast cancer surgery or prostate cancer. And that actually led me to understand energy in a different way in the body. And then in 2008, actually, I started getting some joint pain and realized I needed a plan B, not, thinking I couldn't do massage, longevity wise. So at that point, I had a general massage practice. And I went back to school for interior design because I felt the need to be able to express myself in my creative side. And then that led me to feng shui. And it was actually in a feng shui program that I heard about Marconics. And I read the first book, The Clarion Call, and immediately knew this was my next pile of breadcrumbs. So that was in 2016. And then in 2018, I heard the call to be a teacher in Marconics. And then in 2021, was promoted to master teacher. And to me, this system makes sense. This puts the client back into the driver's seat, which you'll probably hear me say a lot during this call. Which is not something that we've been conditioned to do.
So Oh, very, very interesting story for how you got here. Can you talk a little bit about Marconics? I'm sure that a lot of the people listening haven't heard it before or even know what Marconics means. So could you share more about that?
Of course. So Marconics is a new ascension energy healing modality that only became available on the planet in 2013. And it relates to the great shift that occurred at the end of 2012. Perhaps some of your listeners remember the whole Mayan calendar prediction that it was going to be the end of the world. Well, it was the end of the world as we knew it because the planet was making a paradigm shift, going from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And when that occurred, the planet first has to go through all the constellations, which takes about 26,000 years. And we consider that an age, thus the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. But the other thing is that the Earth repositions itself on the galactic plane. And when that occurs, when the Earth is above the galactic plane, there's a great awakening that occurs on the planet's surface. And new energies become available on the planet's surface to help activate the spiritual DNA needed for this ascension process. So Marconics was actually gifted to humanity because it was seen along the time track that light workers where we needed to be vibrationally. And as a result of that, we needed assistance with this process of clearing karma and density from the etheric emotional bodies, which then translates into higher states of consciousness.
Okay. So a couple terms you had used might need some explaining to some. So you used the term light worker. Can you explain what a light worker is?
Of course. So, light workers are really anyone that has the sense that they're here to assist and be in service to humanity in some fashion. I guess you can even consider a mom as a light worker, right? So we're all here to really assist a planet in her ascension. What's different is that you don't have to call yourself a healer necessarily to do that, because Prime Creator intended all of us to be light workers by example, by raising our vibration, and then that then gets anchored into the grid lines of the planet, and then others through entrainment, which I'll explain in a second. Through entrainment, others can then level up their vibration. So the term entrainment means if you have two vibrations of different frequency next to each other, the higher frequency will trump the lower one, and then, it raises the vibration of the other. And so in essence, we're all here, I guess, to, walk each other home in a sense.
Mm, I love that. I love that term, walk each other home.
Mm-hmm.
What about the term ascension? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So, when you think of the word ascension, you think you're going up or, somewhere. But really, as far as the ascension cycle of what's going on now, is ascension is about raising your vibrations to meet aspects of you that refracted out. So in a way, we're going higher, but in another sense, ascension is about the descending of aspects of ourselves to merge with us. So let me just backtrack for a second. First of all, we're all here. Anyone that's incarnated onto the planet now is here to assist a planet in her ascension. What's different about this ascension cycle is that we get to ascend with the planet if we choose it. So in order to do that, though, there's some spiritual maturity and requirements that the karmic board is deeming necessary for us in order to do that. So this is not something that's everyone is choosing. So when we speak about ascension, it's talking about getting yourself into higher states of consciousness, so that you can merge with these other aspects of ourselves that refracted out. So if you think about it, the expression that we're just spiritual beings have a temporary human experience, right? So we're
Mhm.
more than just the meat suit. We have a soul, an essence. And when we start out as a essence, we're like a diamond. And then we decanter down from the higher realms to have our experience here in this matrix. And we chose the third dimensional aspect of this matrix for our experience. So in order to go for the next experience, we need to merge back with those other aspects of ourselves. So ascension, think of it as the Jacob ladder style, where every time you go up another rung on that ladder, you're raising your vibration to meet those other aspects of ourselves.
Wow, that's so interesting. And we've talked a little bit about raising your vibration on this podcast in the past. So I think that blends some past conversations well with what we're talking about today. So what exactly sets Marconics apart from some of those other modalities that we talked about earlier?
Well, so Marconics, like something like Reiki, right? You know, it's similar in that the sense that it's a no touch modality. But what sets Marconics apart from something like Reiki is that we are working on the expanding light body configuration. So you spoke earlier when you did your introduction of me that we most modalities are working on the traditional chakra system, and our chakra system, to have our experience here in the density of 3D, was dumbed down. And in that dumbing down process, the chakras were actually nipped close to the spine and plugged with a mucus plug and sealed, which creates those trumpet conical shaped chakras that most modalities are working on, with today. Marconics, through the recalibration process, which I'll get into in a little bit, actually reconfigures that chakra system back to its multidimensional organic state, the way it was when we were existing in the higher realm. So our chakras are supposed to be round, and they fit into each other as a series of nesting spheres and work together as a single unified organ, so that as we clear karma, it accelerates that process. The chakra system that the most other modalities that were created prior to 2013 are working on those trumpet shaped individual chakras. So you have to go through each one as you're clearing. And if one is spinning in the wrong direction, it throws all the others off. With Marconics, when we reconfigure that chakra system, it then is able to work together. As one is spinning, it'll force the other one to spin in the opposite direction, creating this gear system.
Oh, okay. I think it could help the listeners to talk a little bit about the process of somebody coming in and having and having somebody work on them, having somebody Marconic, so to speak. So, and I know that, I actually had the opportunity to go through a level 1 course with Robin in the past, and I've learned some of these healing techniques, at least the no touch method. I didn't graduate to some of the others, but I do know I have a little bit of background in it. However, it's certainly better to hear it from an expert who's actually been a teacher of it for a long time. But I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the process of bringing somebody in and working on them, and so people can visualize what that's like.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the energy speaks for itself. And my favorite thing, having coming from a healing arts background, I've always known that I was not doing the healing, that I was just a conduit for the healing. The thing that I like most about Marconics is that there's no ego involvement. So as a massage therapist, I was very intuitive. And, you get those intuitive hits as you're working with someone to see where it is that, what it is they're clearing and how to assist them. With Marconics, it's a full spectrum and multidimensional modality, which means that Marconics has it already built in, everything from the radio waves to the gamma rays that we are pulling in from the cosmos. And who am I to know what my client needs? So there's no ego involvement in that. When we are stepping into our client's field and merging with their morphogenetic field, the higher self takes over and orchestrates the session, and the higher self determines what frequency of energy is needed for that person to clear the karma and density from their etheric, emotional, and mental bodies. So really, it's a no-touch modality. It's done on a massage table, and everyone experiences Marconics in the same way as far as with the way the frequency feels, but everyone will experience their session unique to them, because the session is designed to trigger the memories, whether it could come in as a smell, as a sound, as a vision. People report to see colors, or they have the sense that there are other people in the room with them. And it's all designed to trigger these memories, which is really what karma is, so that they can clear it from their fields.
Okay. And then the process of, so we have the energy healing, and then what do you call it when you actually have your chakras opened? Is that a separate, that's a separate, what do you call it? Like
protocol.
Session. Protocol. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So Marconics, we actually have 3 different protocols. We have the no-touch protocol, which is a sustained increment up in your vibration. So that's an ongoing process where every time you have a no-touch session, you're flooded with very high frequency to clear the karma and the density within the etheric and emotional body, which then as an organic byproduct is going to help heal the physical body. The recalibration process is a one and done. So the quantum recalibration it's done in 2 separate 1-hour sessions. And in that process, there's 2 parts. There's the integrated chakra unification, where that's the retooling and the reconfiguring of the chakra system back to its organic state. So I mentioned before that the chakras, for our human experience here in 3D, our chakra systems were dumbed down by design and not by punishment. It was because we had to gain the spiritual maturity and incubate the light. So the chakra systems were dumbed down, limiting our connection to source, to the source that created us, actually. So of course we can all communicate with source, but the source that created us was disconnected because we weren't able to exit this matrix. So in the recalibration process, in that ICU, when we reconfigure the chakra system to bring it back to its multidimensional state, as I stated before, as that single unified organ, that then releases you from being tethered to the old 3D density, so that you can operate on a higher light body configuration. So there's a word that's called, light body. What is that? Maybe some of your listeners have heard the word Merkaba, and that is how your consciousness actually exits the vehicle. So when we go to sleep at night, the consciousness is what leaves the body and goes into the higher realms. And many teachers, scholars have considered that the real spiritual school, when we are able to, in dream state, process a lot of what's going on in our waking state. Well, it's done through this sacred geometrical configuration. Many have seen it as the Star of David, right? Those 2 triangles that signify heaven coming to earth. But now we have an opportunity to have an upgrade in that light body configuration. And it's through this quantum recalibration, after the retooling of the chakra system and after being reconnected back to the source that created us, we then get an upgrade in that Merkaba, and that is actually done through the connection of the higher self and the incarnate. So what is the higher self? What is the higher self in this process? Well, we each come in with a higher self, which is really another version of you that is actually governing your experience here, right? So in that higher self that we're making connection to is actually in the 8th dimension. And it's in the 8th dimension that is also the galactic core of this universal structure. And you can also think of that as 0 point. 0 point is that place of, when you go through that process of having an aha moment, and then, when you have that, you actually, there's a period of time when you plateau and you might feel a little bit, before you upgrade to that next level of consciousness, there's that sense of there's a sense of peace, and there's a sense of understanding that you can't not know what you just figured out for yourself in a way.
Yeah.
So in that 0 point, it's like, think of it as like the hourglass as you're passing through, the eye of the needle. You need to have that reset. And that's really what the ascension process is about, is to return back to that 0 point where you get to have the do-over, a reset, so that you can then have an experience in a higher state of consciousness. And it's the retooling of the chakra system that's the first step in this process. Because when we came down for experience in the 3rd dimension, and we were disconnected from the source that created us, there was a sense of, it's really where the abandonment story began for us. And when you think about all of us that are trying to find our way back to ourselves, we tend to align with this self-sabotaging program. And that has to do with the unworthiness and a sense of guilt and shame, perhaps. But it all comes back to the abandonment story. And when you think about it, most of us have just abandoned ourselves in this process. So really, the retooling of the chakra system back to its organic state is the first step. Because why are we in the mess we're in? Think about it. It's because there's so much fear riddled in this reality. And there's a lot of hijacking that's taking place, not just, you can see it all around us, but the political system, the educational system, the financial system, and religion. Even religion uses fear to control us. And if you think about it, religion was created originally to help us make those higher choices. But because of the fear that's now kind of taken over, it's really hard for us to make those higher choices. But it's really no fault to ourselves in a sense, because of the way the energetic body was designed. But now we have an opportunity to rise above this. And so Marconics, you can think of Marconics, we're not, claiming that it's the only path up the mountain, but Marconics is a really important piece to the puzzle. And it's also holding the box for all the other pieces in this process.
Wow, really, really, really interesting. And I'm so excited that we're sharing more about it because there's so much to learn. The word sovereignty gets thrown around a lot in spiritual groups. I would love for you to break down what does that mean with regard to this ascension cycle that we're experiencing?
So, the word sovereignty is about governing yourself, right? That's what we think about in the political arena, is where that word tends to be used a lot. In ascension, sovereignty is being able to align with your human right to be a free cosmic citizen. The thing is, we're not as a collective anyway, we're not really making those higher choices, because we are making a lot of our choices with ego out of balance and from a place of fear. So when we speak about sovereignty, we speak about being able to take the best of our humanness, right? When we balance out that ego. And then as we are ascending into higher states of consciousness and merging with these refracted parts of ourselves, with our divinity part of ourselves, then imagine what we could accomplish in that, merging the best of our humanness with the best of our divinity, so that we only make those higher choices. That's what sovereignty is in this next ascension cycle. And not everyone is choosing this.
Yeah, I think what's so important about the work that we're doing is just to help people realize that so much is a choice. It's not being forced on them. They're not victims. There's a choosing aspect to what they're experiencing.
Absolutely. And there's also a aspect of taking responsibility for ourselves. You can't play the victim and then not want to take responsibility for your actions. And that's the whole point of this, is that because our egos have been in the driver's seat for so long, it has caused a lot of distortion. And just to let you know, this is our 7th and final attempt for this ascension. The planet is ascending with or without us. When the planet was hit with the atomic bomb during World War II, she lost thousands of years of quantum energy. And if you think about it, quantum energy is what we use to incarnate each time. That's what's being used. We were created in this dumbing down system, when the chakra system was dumbed down, with a limited amount of quantum energy, and we're going to eventually run out. So we have to start taking responsibility for ourselves, so that we can make the higher choices, get back connected, to the source that created us, so that we go from a closed, finite self-fed system to an infinite source-fed system. And when you can do that and then heal the holographic light body templates that create our human templates, then anything is possible. But when we are in those lower frequencies, feeling that life is happening to us instead of life is happening for us, that's where many of us get stuck. And my sense is that if everyone just healed themselves in this process and stopped pointing fingers and blaming, this, that, the other thing, why the world is the way it is, and start taking responsibility for ourselves, then we will be able to heal the planet.
And is that when we come to unity consciousness? I know that can be a confusing term.
Yeah. So, that's the thing. So, not everyone is choosing sovereignty, and not everyone is choosing, ascension to the same place. So unity consciousness, when we think about that, it's not a pool of ooey gooey oneness. We're not all choosing the same. And I'm choosing to be part of that pool of sovereign beings, those that are choosing to heal themselves and to be part of the solution, and not complain about the problems. So unity consciousness in the higher realms is a lot different than what unity consciousness here. We're not just all the same. We're not choosing the same. We're not all taking responsibility for ourselves.
Very, very interesting. So, when you think about people who would be good candidates or benefit from Marconics, certainly, you have to have part of you inside, similar to what happened to you and what happened to me. There must be an interest there. You must spark an interest, and you must be drawn to it to some extent to seek more. but I'm wondering who would best benefit from Marconics.
Well, so Allison David Bird, who originated Marconics, she has a saying of, that Marconics is light encoded. So even the word Marconics, it relates back to Marconi, who is the European version of our Tesla, and was able to harness radio sound waves for communication. And that's what Marconics is. It's radio astronomy in a sense. So the word Marconics, those that just hear the word will may be triggered by it, and it's because it's already in your DNA. And so anyone that is questioning that there must be another way to navigate through life, with all these tumultuous times that we're experiencing, would be a great candidate to try Marconics, to raise their vibration above the fear, to have a sense of that there must be more than, just keep going back into this rinse and repeat cycle, right? Because we're really not, from what we're seeing, we're not in any better place than we were, 200 years ago. The other aspect is parents of young children. The children that are coming in now are coming in much more high vibrationally. In fact, they probably wouldn't need a recalibration. Their chakra systems are probably in the older multidimensional state to begin with. And as parents, we need to be able to support these children, because if you think about it, they're going to have children, and they're going to be the architects of this new world that we're creating. And so we get a lot of, women that with young children, and men for that matter, but parents that want to understand that their children are coming in higher vibrationally and they want to support them, would also be great candidates.
I think that's why I was drawn to it.
Probably so.
Mm-hmm. Are there any contraindications for Marconics?
There aren't many. Mental illness would be the biggest concern. Anyone that's suffering from severe depression or under the care of a doctor and taking heavy duty medications for mental illness. And the reason for that is that Marconics accelerates. And so we just don't want to put anyone into a healing crisis. The other thing would be pregnancy, although we've had a few pregnant women that coming through, but and also women that are breastfeeding small children, because the children are so dependent on the mother's light body that, again, if we accelerate that process too quickly, it may affect the children. The other thing is that because Marconics affects the electromagnetic system, which is what our morphogenetic fields consist of, anyone with a pacemaker or is suffering from diabetes and has a insulin, apparatus attached to them, would just need to be, perhaps get a doctor's note from their, giving them permission to receive Marconics. But other than that, there's really no other contraindications.
Cool. So I think that you're going to have a lot of people interested in learning more or having an opportunity to experience the energy for themselves. So I would love for you to share, where can somebody begin their Marconics journey?
Well, I would say start by visiting the Marconics website. Marconics.com will get you there. And if this is something that resonates with some of your listeners, then on the website, there is an opportunity to book a discovery call with one of our master teachers. And in that discovery call, you can also book a free sample, or a free remote sample session. Actually, you can receive this remotely to then be able to experience the energy for yourself and see if it's a good fit for you.
So cool. And if somebody wants to learn how to perform energy healing through Marconics on someone. Is that can someone take classes to do that?
Absolutely. That's our jam.
Yeah.
We actually have 21 teachers that cover across the United States, Canada, Japan, the UK, and all across Europe as well. And so I'm sure there's a class coming to a city near you, and you'll be certified as either a no-touch foundational practitioner or then an advanced practitioner, which you'll be able to perform the recalibrations on someone. So yeah, that's all on the website as well. But most people come through Marconics classes not to become a healing practitioner. They do it for their own spiritual journey, because through the classes we have a lot of emphasis on spiritual alchemy, to understand how this universe was created and why it is in a system of fall, and how we can raise above those fear frequencies that are keeping us tethered to that older system.
Yeah. It's just a very, very interesting couple days to go through the practice and to learn and to actually get a chance to do some of the energy work yourself. I can speak firsthand that I really enjoyed it. And I, of course, got to work with Robin, which was absolutely fantastic. So I'm very grateful for that.
It
Highly
was
recommend.
Thank you. And it certainly is an honor. And that's the thing, the people that come through these classes, you don't necessarily have to have a strong background in spiritual concepts or any of that. Anyone can come through. We've had NASA scientists, artists, mathematicians, engineers, as well as those heart-centered, healers among us. So it's really anyone can come through classes.
Amazing. And the classes are just in person, right? Those are not done
Yes,
virtually?
they
Okay.
have to be done in person. There's integrity that's involved, and protections that are put in place, and it would not be appropriate to do this virtually.
Okay. Okay. Well, this has been so, so interesting. Thank you so much, Robin. I would love to close with a few questions that I ask all my guests. The first being, reflecting on our conversation today, what is one key takeaway you would like our listeners to remember about consciousness and the work you're doing in Marconics?
Well, there's another way. That's first and foremost, that there's another way to break out of this rinse and repeat conditioning that's going on all across our planet. And the key to that is to stay above the fear frequencies that keep you stuck and feeling helpless. The other one is to flex your discernment muscles. And that's really what is needed to be able to determine what is your truth in all of this, right? Um, and not to feel, controlled by what society says we need to do, or how we need to conduct ourselves, as far as being able to stay in that driver's seat, so to speak.
And if someone's just starting their journey towards a deeper understanding of consciousness, what advice or guidance would you give them?
I would say first and foremost is to get yourself on a path to heal the emotional pain body. That's really what's, being in our way to be able to really heal then the physical, and to be able to live a life that's feeling fulfilled, and bringing you peace and joy. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But I think the important thing is to become the observer of ourselves, to notice where our patterns are, where are we reactive, how can we better respond to our reality. Because if you think about it, as humans, we get to feel all the feels, but we shouldn't hold on to them. It's when the emotional pain body is out of balance, that's where the suffering comes from, which is a choice. We really don't have to suffer. We can really be able to stay more neutral and be more in control of ourselves.
And my last question for you today is, in your opinion, what does it mean to live life consciously?
To live life consciously means to be in the driver's seat at all times, and to keep choosing to go higher, to raise our vibration above the fear, balancing the ego, and to stay in the driver's seat so that no one else is controlling the way that we conduct our lives. That to me is what is to live life consciously.
Yeah.
To making those choices, and it's not all about rainbows and unicorns. It's about being able to go through being the creator and destroyer when necessary. But it's only when the ego is in balance that we can do that consciously.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Well, this has been such an amazing interview. Thank you so much. If our listeners today want to stay connected with you or learn more or access more on the topics that we've talked about today, how can our listeners reach you?
Well, you can reach me on Facebook or Instagram. It's under Robin Joy Landau, Marconics Master Teacher. You can message me there. You can also just Google me. My phone number is public, and my email is robinjoylanda@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Robin. We really appreciate you. Thank you for being here today and sharing all about Marconics with us. And thank you all for listening. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you.
Before we part ways, I want to express my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for tuning in. Your curiosity and openness make this journey all the more meaningful. As we navigate the realms of consciousness together, please follow our podcast for more captivating conversations. If you enjoyed what you heard, why not share the love, rate and review on your favorite platform, and help us reach more seekers on this enlightening path. And hey, the conversation doesn't end here. Dive into the show notes for additional insights, resources, and details about today's discussion. Your journey to clarity continues beyond this episode. Thank you so much for being a part of the Clarity to Consciousness community. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the boundless possibilities of your consciousness. Take care and much love to you all.